Hello, my name is Cathy Douglass, Director of Naya Jivan Project, a ministry of Cru reaching Hindus in North America. By the way, Naya Jivan means new life in Hindi. I'm glad you're listening to this video because you would like to help reach out to Hindus and be more effective as you share Christ with Hindus. And I'm going to help you with that. Well, because of the short time we have on this video, just 10 minutes, I'm not going to give you any generalities, overview of Hinduism, nothing like that. I'm going to go straight into a very practical tip that you are sure to encounter or probably have already encountered as you share Christ with Hindus. I call it the Hindu tolerance conversation stopper. Now, if you're going to share Christ with Hindus, you're going to meet up with Hindu tolerance philosophy. And you need to understand what it is and how Hindus feel about it. Hindu tolerance is expressed in such phrases as all paths lead to God, or all religions teach the same thing, or even Jesus and Krishna, they're the same. Hindu tolerance means I'm okay, you're okay. Your path to God is valid, my path to God is valid, and we will all meet at the top there. It's a philosophy that Hindus feel is their gift to the world to promote world peace. If only we all agree to this philosophy, we'll leave each other alone and nobody has to convert anybody else. So Hindus feel very good, very positive about their tolerance philosophy. Unlike someone like myself, when I think of the word tolerance or tolerate in English, I think of, I'll put up with this if I have to, but I don't really like it. It's not a very positive word. But Hindus feel very positive about their tolerance. So we need to be very careful as we tread around this topic and not to, upset them or directly attack it or belittle it. Well, when you hear a phrase like that, all religions teach the same thing, how can you respond? For probably 15 years, as I began to minister among Hindus, that phrase would always stump me. Such a line would just frustrate me because I didn't know how to respond to it. I knew, first of all, that I felt it was very untrue. And I just couldn't understand how anyone could believe a thing like Jesus and Krishna are the same thing. So my gut instinct was to attack it and argue. But I also knew that would not be right and helpful. So I just kept quiet and I didn't know what to say. And I was stumped and frustrated. But by God's grace, about a few years ago, I began to think of another way. And I would like to suggest that way to you. When you meet that kind of a response, all religions teach the same thing, you need to take it to an indirect level. Because as I know, we don't want to directly confront and argue. That would ruin the relationship, end of story. So take it to an indirect level. You want to say something like this. Has any Christian ever tried to show you that all religions really do not teach the same thing? See, that's not directly confronting. You're talking about some other situation, some other person, some other time. So it's much less threatening. And suppose your friend says, yeah, that's right, somebody did that. And you want to ask, well, how did it go? Or how did you feel about that? So you're feeling things along. You're trying to determine whether it is a safe topic or not. If they said, I didn't like it, that was an argument, that person was so intolerant, then it's not safe to proceed. So just leave it. Just don't try to push it. That would be a mistake. Back off. Go home and pray for your friend and look for another chance, another day to bring up a spiritual conversation and in another way. And suppose your friend says, no Christian has ever tried to show me that Jesus and Krishna are really the same. Then you can say, would you mind if I take a few minutes then and just try to show you a few things that I've learned? Very simple, very polite. Indians love politeness. They appreciate that very much. So, you ask permission and then proceed if they say yes. If they say no still, then you respect that. But if they say yes, you can proceed. And I'll give you a couple of ideas to say about Jesus that, as far as I have been able to determine in my study and experience, that Hindus do not try to contest. These two items about Jesus. One is that Jesus was morally perfect. Never sinned, never hurt anyone. Two, Jesus' resurrection is unique. Hinduism is all about reincarnation. So as you talk about Jesus and his resurrection, you emphasize that Jesus came back to life again in the same body, not same person in a different body, a different life form, but same person, same body. That's his resurrection. This is unique. All right, well, to help us get the idea of these conversations, I'm inviting my husband, John Douglass, to come in and help demonstrate these conversations. And John is going to play the part of the Hindu, and he's going to be my Hindu friend Prakash. We will say that we have gotten to know each other a little bit, but I'm getting to know him more. We're going to assume that we are in his room or his home, and as we talk, I'm seeing in front of us the little array of idols or perhaps pictures that he uses as his objects of worship. And I'm going to ask him about those things. So John is the Hindu and I am the Christian. All right, here we go. So Prakash, it's been nice visiting with you. I'm noticing something in your room here, and I just wanted to ask you about this. I see all these pictures of your deities here.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit, who is your favorite deity? Is there one main deity that you worship?
Yes, certainly. Krishna is my favorite.
Oh, okay, Krishna. I've heard a lot about Krishna. Yeah, as for me, I'm a worshiper of Lord Jesus.
Oh, yes. I've heard a few things about Jesus. I feel the concept is about the same thing. Krishna, Jesus, really they were the same.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I've heard that too from some of my Hindu friends. Would you mind if I ask you this? Has any Christian ever tried to show you that Jesus and Krishna are really not the same?
Yes, there was a time when a co-worker of mine brought up that subject.
Okay.
I found him to be very arrogant. He was trying to say negative things against Krishna, and it was a very one-sided argument.
So that didn't go very well, did
no,
it?
No.
Okay. I don't like arguments either. Yeah, that's not very pleasant. Yeah. Well, by the way, how did your exams go last week?
Oh, it went okay. I studied hard, and I'll get the results on Tuesday.
Okay, very good. Okay, end of that demonstration. Thank you. So we are going to go through it again, and this time we'll get a different response from Prakash. Okay. So Prakash, I was just noticing as we were talking, your gods here that you are worshiping, these
Yes.
are the deities you worship most?
That's correct.
Just wondering, is there one particular one that's your main favorite deity?
Yes, that would be Krishna.
Okay, Krishna. I've heard a lot about Krishna, yes. I'm just by the way, I'm a worshiper of Lord Jesus Christ myself.
Oh, yes, I've heard about Jesus. I know he and Krishna are basically the same thing.
Okay, yeah, I've heard some of my Hindu friends say that too. Would you mind if I ask you something?
Sure.
Has any Christian ever tried to prove to you that Jesus and Krishna are really different and not the same?
No, I don't think anyone has ever talked about that.
Oh, okay. Would you mind if I take a few minutes and show you a few things I've learned?
Sure, why not?
Okay, sure. Well, one of the things I just love so much about Lord Jesus is that as God on earth, he was morally perfect, never committed any sin, crime, never hurt anyone. And that's one thing I just love about him and why I feel I can worship him truly as God. Another thing is Jesus' resurrection. Now, even though Jesus was perfect, he did have enemies who were jealous of him, and they put him to death. But 3 days after he was killed, he got up alive again in the same body, came back to life again. And that's called his resurrection, not reincarnation, but resurrection. Same person, same body, came back to life.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
Very interesting. I've not heard that before.
Okay. All right, that's the end of that demonstration. Thank you very much, John. So I hope you observed what we did, that it was, we took the whole conversation to a different level, an indirect level, talking about what may have happened some other time, which is not very threatening, and especially that I asked permission to proceed and waited for his permission before I went ahead. And I just want to give you a word of caution here, especially if you're dealing with Hindu gods and comparing Jesus and Hindu gods. Please do not say negative things about Hindu deities. There is no need to do that. It's kind of implicit in the way the conversation started, you see. But you don't need to go saying, now Krishna, on the other hand, was not morally perfect. Just leave that out. Stick to Jesus only. Just talk about Jesus and his character, his qualities. Well, I hope this will help you as you witness to Hindus. I'd just like to end with this short story. Just a few months ago, I used this very conversation outline with a Hindu friend of mine named Anu. Anu was a young wife who was in a very desperate situation. Her husband was critically ill and in the hospital for months. And I committed myself to visit her every single day to support her. She had no family and very few friends around to support her. At first, she showed no interest in Jesus except to let me pray. She'd take prayer in any name. But as I slowly, just showed the love of Christ to her and just visited her and helped her and loved her every day, she slowly warmed up. And we got to the point where we were actually watching the Jesus film in her language together on an iPad in the hospital. And she loved it. And she came to the point of saying, I'm starting to believe in Jesus. But meanwhile, there were some other Christians in her life too, because they were aware of her situation and were trying to help in practical ways with her practical needs. But she told me one day how this Christian woman was calling her up and pressuring her to give up her gods and give up her Hindu rituals and worship only Jesus. Jesus is the only God worth worshiping. And it was a pressuring situation. And she came to me, that day quite annoyed and quite upset. She said she was in tears because of this woman's approach. And she just asked me, Cathy, why do Christians do this? If I tell her to give up Jesus and worship Krishna, will she do it? Of course not. Why do Christians do this? I had no choice but to answer such a direct question. So I just went right into my little conversation outline and I asked her, Anu, has any Christian ever sat down with you and tried to show you why Jesus is the only incarnation of God, the only God? And she said, no. And I said, would you mind if I do that? She said, no, go right ahead. So I opened to John chapter 1 and a few other passages and explained those things to her. And I know she listened very carefully and very deeply. She sat there and listened very carefully. And Anu is still on her journey of faith, and I believe she will put her faith in Jesus Christ one of these days. But use this conversation outline, and I'd love to hear back from you. If you try it out, how does it go for you? How does it work for you?